What up, people? This is Bonjo. I'm out here in Chiovo. Got the JC Max shades on. This is part of the segment where people, the viewers, the fans, the friends, the family, they all send in video submissions, and I try to relate to them and put my take and my twist on it. Yeah, for any of you guys that want to send in video submissions, send them to JCmoney@gmail.com through like WeTransfer.com or something, and I'll get to it. And now let's get into this one. This is a second video submission by another YouTuber. His name is Balkan Nomad. He hails from Zagreb and North Carolina. Let's give him a round of applause, people.
This is Bonjo Show. This is not your show. I traded the 905 for G004. This is Bonjo Show.
Hello from the rooftops of Zagreb, Croatia. So Bunjo reached out to me and said he wanted me to submit one of my crazy stories. So I gave it some thought, and I came up with probably the two biggest life or death situations that I've experienced so far in my life. And the craziest thing is they both happened like within a week of each other in 2019. So this was June of 2019. And so I just finished college, and I was living. The area I was living in, it wasn't a bad area, but it was kind of close. It was like 1 street or 2 street away from a kind of a rougher area. So there was some crime, there was burglaries, some violence, but not too bad. But basically, so it was maybe a Sunday or Monday. I'd just come back from, I was just hanging out with a friend or something, and I'd realized that our TV had gotten stolen. We really didn't have much in the house, and the TV was basically probably the only thing like of value, and someone had stolen it. And I think my roommate, he had just left the house, forgot to lock it or something, because it didn't seem like anyone had like forced any like doors or windows open. So that sucked. I mean, the TV was maybe like $100, $200 TV, so it wasn't too expensive. But yeah, obviously, it still sucked. It pissed me off. And so then maybe 2 days after that, I was actually at my apartment, same one, or no, this is a house. Sorry, I don't know why I said apartment. So I was in the house in my room, and I was home alone, and I knew my other roommates, they were out and about. I knew like they weren't home or anything, and I heard a sound, and it was like, sometimes you're home alone, the houses make sounds, whether it's like the drainage system, I don't know, like heating, whatever. And it's kind of hard to describe, but it was just, sound like something was moving around. I was like, that's a little weird, but nothing out of the ordinary. And then I remember there's a couple seconds later, another sound, and I was kind of like, okay, this sounds a little weird. Like, I'm not sure if like something's wrong with like the heater or whatever. Or I guess it was June, so maybe the air conditioning, whatever. And so then I get up, I'm like, maybe I should go check on something. And then as I'm getting up, I heard like the third sound, which was just like all of a sudden, it was like my senses just went like through the roof. I was like, it was definitely like someone else. I just knew someone else was in this house. And I hadn't heard a door open or anything. So that's when I was like, okay, so something's going on here. So I walk out of my room, and then the like 5 or 10 feet in front down the hallway to the right is my roommate's room. So I start walking towards there because that's where the sound had come. Turn into his room. And a guy had just broken into the house, had just climbed through the window, and was standing there, like in the room, looking face to face, just looking at each other. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? I yelled at him, like, get out. And I wasn't sure if he was going to try to, like, come towards me, try to attack me, because I was standing towards the door of the room. But then he was an idiot. I mean, he was like, sorry, I thought you weren't here, or whatever. And then, like, he just booked it right back out through the window that he had climbed through. And I thought he was on foot, but then when I saw him running out, I tried to chase him, so I ran to the front of the house, and then he was actually in a car. Like, he had parked his car in front of my house, and then he had, like, obviously sped off right when I got to the front of the house. So that was a pretty crazy moment. I mean, this type of things, like, it's kind of hard to describe, like, if you haven't been in that sort of situation, but just, like, looking face to face with someone who's trying to, like, break into who's already in your house. That shit was crazy. And so that happens maybe mid-June, and then like
yeah, so that story by Balkan Nomad was riveting and thrilling and scary all at the same time. Yeah, there's nothing scarier than being surprised by a stranger, especially somebody that could harm you or just rob you, period. I remember this one time on Cameron Street. I was sleeping in my underwear, and I lived with my mom. I was probably like 17 at the time, right? And my mom comes downstairs. She's like, "Oh my God, somebody's looking through the window. Somebody's looking through the window." I'm like, "Oh, come on, are you serious?" And I was like kind of mad because I was like kind of drunk. You know, when you wake up after an hour after being drunk, you feel sick and groggy. So I go upstairs. Sure enough, there's a dude. So I bring my hockey stick, right? It's a Mission. It was a Mission. I think it was a 2-piece aluminum shaft or a carbon fiber. So I bring this hockey stick upstairs. And I sneak up. I see this guy going in the door because I had this glass door, but it was like a frosty glass, so you can't really see in or out. But I see his shadow moving and going towards the door handle. So I surprise him. I open the door before he can open it, and I'm like, "Ah!" And we kind of scare each other. And I take he's running down the stairs. I take a swing. I hit him in the back with my hockey stick, and he's like, "Ah!" And then we're like, he runs behind a car. And we're playing this little cat and mouse game, you know, trying to get each other. Well, not trying to get each other, because I was trying to get him with the hockey stick. He was scared. He's like, "Man, I thought it was my friend's house." But he dropped his bag. He had like a screwdriver and a whole bunch of crazy shit. Imagine if that guy would have came in and assaulted us or something. He had a screwdriver, a hammer. Like, what are you doing with that? Like, to me, that guy was trying to murder or something. But he was shook. And then the cops came, right? So the cops came, and I'm like, "Oh, I hit the guy with the hockey stick," and I would have beat him if he would have dropped after the one, but it hit him in that part of the back where it really doesn't hurt. And the cops like, "Look at these guys, these little sailor boys." And the cops like, "If you would have hurt him, he could have pressed charges against you, even though he robbed you. That's Canada for you, you know. Even though he broke into my house, if he would have fell down a flight of steps and twisted his ankle, he could have charged me. You know what I mean? That's crazy." And so I said, but he's like, "Oh, don't worry, we would have just dragged him out to the curb and say he fell on the street." So, I mean, there's loopholes to this shit, right? And thanks, Balkan. And we got another hitter from the Balkan Nomad. He blessed us with 2. That first one was riveting and thrilling, man. I like that. And hats off to you for confronting him and making him dive out that window like a swan, boy. Like the Korean swim team. You got that, baby. You're a hero in your buddy's eye. I mean, your own eyes, because you really only saved your own self and your buddy's stuff, right? So that's pretty cool, man. Hats off to you. You freaking hero, you.
Then a week later, this is another fucking crazy thing that happened. I was actually driving to one of my friend in another city was having like just a little get together, a little party. One of my best friend actually. We don't see each other that much anymore, so I was really excited for it. So I had stopped at the grocery store on the way there, got some beer. Luckily didn't start drinking it yet, obviously, because I was just going there and then I was gonna spend the night. So I'm driving on the highway. And this highway, I-85. I want to say the speed limit's like 85 miles per hour. No, 75. Probably 75 miles per hour. It's pretty fast. I'm just going. I think I'm in the middle lane driving. And it's at night. And then all of a sudden, like a switch, like I just completely lose control. Or no, sorry, I forgot. I see, before this happens, I see a car like completely turn sideways. Like, it was the weirdest thing. Like, it didn't really register to me what was happening. But while I'm going in the highway, car literally just turns sideways and then immediately goes towards me, hits the back of my car, and we're both going really fast. I was going probably about 80 miles per hour, and then my car just completely takes like a right turn, like going towards the ditch or towards like the side of the highway, away from the other side. So obviously I'm going for some trees now, and this is obvious. I'm going like at a deadly speed, and so I obviously turn the car as much as I can, and then that obviously caused me to overcorrect, and then I go barreling towards the middle line, the barrier, blanking on what's that called, whatever, that's separating the 2 lanes of highway, or the 2 different directions. So I go back and bam, hit that side, come back out into the highway a little bit, and then slam right into the barrier again. And then my car stops, and then I'm sitting there in the middle of the highway. I'm still like so confused because it just all happened in like 5 or 10 seconds. And then my door, actually, I can't even get out of my door because it had gotten like slammed shut, or I guess like dented, whatever. I couldn't open it up. So I had to, this is so scary. Like, well, I'm like in the middle of, or not in the middle, on the side of the highway. Like, I don't know if a car's gonna come speeding and hit me, like, and kill me that way. And so I'm trying to get out of this car, and then finally I'm able to kick the door open. I get out, and then luckily a car in front of me had stopped, and they pulled over on the side, and then they came towards me. And at this point I was still kind of confused what had happened, because it was just like, I wasn't sure if like what had caused it, whatever. And so this guy comes up to me, and I wasn't sure if this is the guy who hit me, whatever, but they had pulled over, and he's like, "Are you all right, man?" I'm like, "Yeah, like, did you see what happened?" And he was like, "Dude, it's the craziest thing ever." He was riding behind me, so he saw the whole thing. He had a bird eyes view. And so I was driving a Crown Vic at the time, which is like a cop car, and my car had actually used to be a cop car. And so he basically explained to me that there was a car that was going like 90 or 100 miles per hour, blew a tire, and then that's what caused it to just immediately turn, hit me, which caused me to spin out of control. And then that car that had like caused it, whatever, it went another like 100 yards or so and had stopped. But then while we were talking, like, he was making sure I was doing all right, then that car sped off, or it didn't speed off, but it went away. And I was like, well, shit. I mean, now, because then I'm just sitting there with my fucked up car in the middle of the highway. Like, it was basically a hit and run. The person had left. And then, like, this person the person who hadn't stopped and basically told me all what happened, I mean, I would have been screwed. Like, I don't even know what would have happened. But basically, the cops came. Oh, I forgot about this part, too, because I was extremely nervous, because the beer that I had gotten, that I was bringing to the party during the accident, it had like broken. And so, like, obviously because of the crash, and so it was all over my front seat. I'm like, holy shit, they're gonna think that I was drinking and driving too. I mean, I knew I wouldn't blow anything, so like,
he said he wasn't gonna blow anything. I bet he was about to blow everything if you got a ticket. Let's carry on.
They gave me the breathalyzer test, but I didn't even know if maybe they don't have that on them, whatever, or if it would just be a charge anyways for having it like spilled all the car. But the cops came, and like, luckily right away, like, they knew I was sober. Like, cops are good at that, you know, just talking with them and whatnot. And then turns out, so the person that actually caused the accident was a drunk driver, and they had pulled him over like a mile or two after like a mile or two farther from where the accident occurred. Like, he had tried to get off the exit with the messed up, his car was pretty messed up. He was drunk. I can't remember what he blew, but he was like out of his mind, like blackout drunk. And when he had hit me, he was actually going, like, they calculate like 90 or 100 miles per hour, and that's what caused him to blow the tire. So that was pretty crazy. My car was totaled. I mean, I got money for it, but it still obviously sucked. And then luckily, the people who had stopped originally at the accident, they ended up driving me the extra like 10 minutes over to my friend's house, and still went out with them, still had a good time, so my night had already been like, I didn't want to ruin the whole night. But yeah, those two experiences happening within like a week of each other, actually right before I decided to come to Croatia, was pretty crazy. But yeah, I think the biggest thing was like, don't take life for granted. Especially from the accident. I mean, there was like a 5 or 10 second period when like my car was just spinning out of control on the highway. I'm like, this might be it. So yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I took away from that is just to like live every day like your last, and like anything can happen. Like, your days are numbered, and so do everything you can with the time that you have here.
Next one, this next story was about a drunk driver hitting him, and his booze breaking all over. That's crazy. That's a crazy story, because it is scary getting spun around like that on the highway, like a dreidel, like a Jewish toy, like a spinning top, you know, and then just be like, oh, white knuckles gripping that wheel. I mean, that's riveting stuff right there, and it's scary. Especially you think, oh, there's booze busted all over the front, they're gonna charge me with drinking and driving. But good thing for that witness. That was pretty good of him to help you out. You know, there's good people everywhere, and it's very rare nowadays, but there still are good people. I remember this one time. No, so yeah, so I can relate to that one, that drunk driving one, because I remember when I went to the mall before, I had my car parked, and I was like at the cash. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, because I was going to get steaks for my ex-girlfriend at the time, to cook in the morning, because she wanted me to cook in the morning, and she gets off work at 3 o'clock in the morning. So what happened was, I get these steaks, and I'm at the cash about to check out, and I see this guy come up. I had a Cadillac at the time. This guy come up and just smash my fucking car, drunk out of his mind. Because I see him driving. He drove over the island and shit, to get away. And yeah, it left me with a broken bumper and a fucked up bill. And I mean, that's life. Sometimes it happens. See, at least see, the drunk driver is always the shitty person because they're scared. So they it's like human nature. You fight or flight. You're not going to stay there and accept a drunk driving penalty. You're going to try to get away from that shit. So I mean, in Balkan's case, he didn't get away, but my case, the guy got away. So I mean, it's crazy, and I'm going to be putting up, and I just want to say thank you to Balkan Nomad for his glorious stories. I'm looking forward to hearing from all y'all, and yeah, it's actually pretty good so far. I got a couple stories, a couple videos to do, and I got this new shirt link that I'm going to put up. I'm trying to get it organized right now where you guys can just go to this website and buy all my merch, and keep submitting videos. And remember, comment, thumbs up, share, always subscribe, and there's still that $1,000 contest for the first 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. And this is Bunjo with This is Balkan Nomad. Let's get it.